I found some obscure reference to.
I'd like to call this meeting to order, a joint meeting of the DPW Subcommittee and Town Council, Tuesday, June 1st, 2021. Call to order pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12th, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, General Law, Chapter 30A and Section 18, and the Governor's March 15th, 2020 order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place. This meeting of the Department of Public Works, Town Council, is being conducted via hybrid remote participation only. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted in the council chambers, and every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings as provided for in this order. A reminder that persons who would like to view this meeting while in progress may do so by watching Southbridge Cable Access Channel 192 or by the remote information noted below. We will post a record of this meeting on the town's website at www.ci.southbridge.mass.us as soon as we are able. A roll call vote is required for all votes taken under this order. Call to order. Councilor Marchetti is here. Councilor Dow?
Present.
Councilor Steves?
Present.
Councilor Steves is on remote. Citizen Member Bemis? And Citizen Member Lazo?
Here.
Also in attendance are Councilor Daniel, Councilor Lazo, Councilor Catrona, Town Manager McCall, and DPW Director Heather Blakely. Before we continue with the meeting, I would like to add an agenda item, so I'll be looking for an amendment to this agenda to add an agenda item for maintenance on trees. It would be review and discuss DPW transfer request for specialized services, snow and ice, for $10,000 for maintenance on trees to cover the cost of removing trees in Oak Ridge Cemetery. This came in late today, and the DPW director asked me to add it, so I would like a motion to amend the agenda to add this. We'll put it at the end, I guess, agenda 16. Motion made by Dow, seconded by Councilor Steves. Vote, roll call, Councilor Marchetti, yes. Councilor Dow?
Yes.
Councilor Steves?
Yes.
Citizen Member Lazo?
Yes.
Okay, this will be agenda item number 16, and we'll move adjournment after that. Agenda item number 3, consider and approve joint DPW Town Council meeting minutes of May 4th, 2021. Do I have a
Second.
motion made by Lazo, second by Dow? Are there any corrections, or Councilor Steves?
Yeah, I've got two quick ones. One under item number 6. It says, Ms. Blakely said the last sample ran over the estimated cost due to confusion. I don't recall her saying that, and I'm not quite sure what that actually means.
DPW Director Blakely, did you want to comment on that?
I believe it was confusion. We were confused regarding the sample cost. That's why we were able to reduce it, because one sample we had to do, they ran a blank and they didn't need to run that field blank. So there was some confusion over how much the costs were going to be going forward.
Okay. Okay. And the other item is number 8. I would like my sentence to add, because the largest trees sequester the most carbon, because that was a big part of why I was opposing.
Could you repeat that, please?
I said under item number 8, I would like to add, there's a sentence where I comment, and I would like to add to the end of that sentence, because the largest trees sequester the most carbon, because that was the key point of my statement. Other than that, I can't see anything else.
All right, thank you. All those in favor of accepting the minutes as amended? Councilor Marchetti, yes. Councilor Dow?
Yes.
Councilor Steves?
Yes.
Citizen Member Lazo?
Yes.
So moved. Motion passes. Agenda item number 4, review, discuss request from the owner of Sanssouci Funeral Home, the installation of a handicap parking space in front of the funeral home at 40 Marcy Street. Entertain a motion to vote to recommend for approval.
Second.
Motion made by Lazo, seconded by Dow. Mr. Town Manager or Heather?
I honestly, Mr. Chairman, did not receive anything to my attention relative to this, so I don't know if the
I have some
DPW...
information. I apologize. I thought that Yvonne was going to provide the actual request that came from San Souci, but in my packet, I know that's not in here, so I don't believe it's probably in yours either. It did go through Traffic Commission. It has gone through Traffic Commission multiple times. The request is to put a handicap parking spot on Marcy Street itself, not in her parking lot or anything else. This is for a spot on Marcy Street itself for the purpose of serving her business directly. It came in front of Traffic Commission. It is Traffic Commission's policy that we don't do designated handicap spots unless they're for the common good, unless we absolutely have to. And the reason for this is that in the past, we have run into problems where people have requested handicap spots and they've gotten approved, and then for whatever reason, they stop using them or they get upset because somebody else uses them or different issues. It's a maintenance item, so we have traditionally not approved these. Businesses are required to have parking with site plans that have handicap spots in them, and that's where we think that the handicap spots actually should be. There becomes issues when we do handicap spots and we do alternate side parking rules for snow plowing and everything else. So this has come in front of Traffic Commission twice since I've been on Traffic Commission, which is almost 9 years. And both times it's been voted down. But because the request had come in front of us twice, we did feel it was important to bring it to council and let council make the decision, because we're not a governing body, but the recommendation from Traffic Commission was not to install a handicap spot on Marcy Street.
All right, thank you. Do any of the members have a question? No? All right, Councilor Lazo.
I am an advocate for this one, and I understand the Traffic Commission's past practice. The point that I want to bring up on this here is this business is approximately 100 years old. It's in a neighborhood. They took down a two-family house to the right of their business and put in approximately a $50,000, $60,000 parking lot. And the way the building is built and the way it faces Marcy Street, it's impossible to get a handicap space in that parking lot close enough to the front entrance. So what she ended up doing was she had a company go in and build a $20,000 heated handicap access to the front of the building. Now, in a perfect situation, you would have put the handicap ramp aiming it down towards the parking lot. But she couldn't, because the garage where the hearses go in is between that parking lot and the main building. So in putting the handicap ramp in front of the building to go to the main entrance, they had to go to the left and then to Marcy Street. So as a counselor, and I'm pro-business, I think this is one of the exceptions to the rule where this handicap access is needed on Marcy Street. It is understood that anybody can use it once it's painted in place, but we also understand that San Souci cleans the curb, the side of the road. There's no snow on her side of the street. She has it pushed, the sidewalks are cleaned, the curb is cleaned all in front of the Marcy Street property and put into her parking lot on the backside. So she's willing to follow all the regulations and understand it all. But the thing is, she's invested a tremendous amount of money as a business to have this handicap access, and there is no parking spot for it. So she came forward on this, and I told her that I would speak favorably and give a little history on it, that it's really needed. It's an exception to the rule, I understand. But the way the construction of the building is and the way the construction of the parking lot went and everything, it's absolutely impossible that you could put it in the parking lot. It's quite a ways away from the main entrance, from the handicap access. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anyone else have any questions? Councilor Dow?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. I mean, on the street of South, there's no parking at all be front of that for Emergency Street, correct? It's not
No,
like
there
a
is.
Notre
It's
Dame. So if you put a handicap park, it's gonna look like a, I mean, then they're gonna request more parking on the right side and another business called, I know, but it's a business across the street, so that business is gonna use that parking. So, and if you look on the left side, she have some green spot there behind that handicap ramp. Why she cannot make, I don't know how big is enough to put the handicap there behind, you know, the parking on her property off the street, because it's difficult to traffic-wise. If the other business park across the street and leave the parking there, how she gonna use it? It's gonna be an argument there. There's gonna be. I think it's kind of like the street is small to add it in handicap parking on that street. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Lazo, did you want to respond?
Just a quick note. The business across the street parks on both sides. There's parking on both sides of the street. There's parking all in front of St. Susie's, and there's parking all in front of the opposite side of St. Susie's. And she knows that if there is a handicap spot there, if a handicapped person wants to park there and go across the street, it's understood, because she doesn't own it. But my thing is, I don't know why anybody with a handicap placard would want to park so far away from the other business when there's a parking lot on the other side, and there's an access there for that business. So I think it's good for the whole business sector, and this is just my pro-business approach, that this is really needed. It's not going to hurt anybody. If anything, it helps. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anyone else have any questions? Councilor Steves? No?
I don't have a specific question. I'm just kind of thinking about it.
All right. Well, then we'll take a roll call vote. Councilor Marquette. Oh, I'm sorry. Councilor Dow.
What side is gonna be on the street? On the right or on the left side?
Left as you're driving
Down.
towards Hamilton.
So
Right where
the
her-
handicaps still have to cross the street to go up.
No.
If you go down,
It'll be right at the, if she put it where she wants it, the handicap ramp comes down to the town sidewalk.
Okay.
And then the handicap parking would be right there. And the corner has a swale where the ramp goes up if you have to go up the ramp. It's a perfect situation for a handicap parking.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you. Did you want to answer that, Heather, or no?
No,
That's
he answered,
correct?
I
All right.
agree, where he's saying, that is the location that she did request.
All right. Okay, then we'll do a roll call. Councilor Marquette is yes. Councilor Dow?
No.
Assistant Member Lazo?
Yes.
Councilor Steves?
No.
So it's 2-2. All right. We'll go to council with a, I guess, no recommendation. Thank you.
No, that's a negative recommendation.
All right. Agenda item number 5, review, discuss DPW transfer request from account number 001499 521000-0499 electricity DPW for $4,750 to various accounts. Number 001499-521000-001 electricity various for $1,000 to account number 001499-521-000-0425 electricity town for $3,000 and account number 001499-521-000-0431 electricity traffic and school light for $750 to cover costs of electricity to the end of the year. Entertain a motion to vote to recommend that council approve this transfer request.
Motion move.
So moved. Second.
Motion made by Dow, seconded by Steves.
I just have one small correction. Where
Yeah.
it says town, it should be town hall.
Town Hall,
Yeah.
okay.
It does read that way on the paper for the
Yep,
transfer.
So, Mr. Town Manager or Heather, would you like to comment on this? Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
As we get to the end of the year and we start reviewing our accounts and the balances and projecting through the end of the year, we still have 2 months' worth of bills to pay out of our electricity accounts. Our DPW, so a few years ago, these 4 accounts used to be one account, and in my infinite wisdom, I broke them into 4 accounts. So we have one that is assigned just for DPW building, we have one for Town Hall, which encompasses the Town Hall parking lot lights. We have one that's for traffic lights and other parking and street lights, so our traffic lights and the school lights, school zone lights, and that other various one is for our smaller buildings like the res. I believe the parking lot for Central Street is in there, and a couple, like the smaller ones. So we group them into 4 groups under that instead of into one big group. But by doing that, I don't have the ability to deal with fluctuations in cost. So they go up and down sometimes from year to year. Obviously, DPW, we're doing really well, and our electricity upgrades, we've been able to keep our costs very low. So we have available funds, but the other 3 counts are starting to run low, and I want to make sure that we have enough funds projected through the end of the year to be able to pay our bills. I think that's pretty much our simple explanation.
All right, thank you. Does anybody have any questions? No one? Counselor Steves?
No.
All right. The only question I have is this various, I'm sure you said it, but could you just repeat that,
Yeah,
please?
it has like the res building in it. There's a couple other small buildings that we manage through DPW that it includes. I think the Central Street parking lot is included in that, that bill has changed since over last year, so that actually has made a difference because now we had 2 bills from that because they had to put a new meter in there when they did the upgrades to the parking lot. So there's some different costs that go into that various account.
All right. And electricity costs are up because?
Electricity costs, we talked about this, and you will see this because I have a variety of electricity items here coming. Our electricity costs are up this year. Our water and sewer, I think, are more related to how much we actually are treating and pumping than just costs alone. But our cost in general, I think what we're seeing, just like we talked about previously in the streetlights, is that transmission cost has gone up close to 20% this year. So we are seeing that starting to catch up to us. We're not seeing, for a long time, we've been able to hold our electricity costs very much the same year after year after year and not exceed. This year we are. I am a little concerned for next year's budget because I don't think we had projected at the time thinking they were going to be that great, but that is what we're seeing this year. Our costs, remember, are twofold. We pay for our solar credits and our national grid bill. So sometimes our solar credits, what has happened, I think, this year with our solar credits, because we had a very early spring where a lot of sunshine and not really until this weekend, rainy days, we've actually gotten a lot more solar credits, but that means we pay for them ahead of time. We will realize that when it comes in the summer and we receive those credits, that our bills will go down next year, but it's a balancing game between our credits when we pay for them and when we actually see those credits on our bills. But our national grid bill charges in general have increased.
And you may have answered this once before, but is there a reason why we don't get to see those bills? You may have already answered that, but I don't remember now.
Which bills?
Electric bills. Are
You
they
can
too
see any one of
complicated?
them you'd like. I pay 86 of them, so
All
come
right.
on down. I'll show you as many as you'd like to see.
Okay, thank you.
Be careful what you ask for. You can come and pay them with me. You want to sort bills one day? I'm sure Tara would be very appreciative because
All right.
there's a lot of bills that we get into that office, so come on down.
Okay, thank you.
I'll share them with you. I have them all there.
I just might. All right, does anybody else have any questions? Anybody? All right, we'll take a roll call. Counselor Marquetti is yes. Counselor Dow?
Yes.
Counselor Steves?
Yes.
Assistant Member Lazo?
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0. Agenda item number 6. Review, discuss DPW sewer transfer request from account number 600 440-583-000-89500, Capital Reserve to account number 600-440-521-000, Electricity for $67,000 to cover the cost of electricity to the end of the year. Entertain a motion to vote to recommend that council approve this transfer
So moved.
request.
Second.
Second.
Motion made by Lazo, seconded by Dow. All right, Heather?
So I did allude to this a little bit. So this would be our sewer. We're transferring it out of capital reserve. You can see that we haven't taken anything out of our sewer capital reserve yet this year, so we do have money to be able to cover unknown costs. I've spoken about this a few times, and it is directly proportional. Our electricity costs are directly proportional to the amount of water that we pump through our sewer plant, and we pump it multiple times. So as our flows increase for storm events like we had over this weekend, our flows were up over 5 million gallons a day, where normally they're down around 2 million gallons per day or below. So when you have to prolong pump that, and we will see those flows probably through the end of the week before they start to tail off. And that is directly that's our inflow and infiltration, which is something we're targeting with sewer upgrades. But until that time, we have to pay for all that water to be pumped through our sewer systems at various locations, whether it's pump stations or at the plant, and pay for all that treatment with the blowers and everything that we use. They're very high energy usage. So in order to ever trim those costs, we have to reduce that inflow and infiltration. When we have dry years, which a couple years ago we had a very dry year, we had very low electricity costs because, when you're not pumping that. It's very directly, I would say that the transmission costs that we're seeing increasing from National Grid obviously is affecting it because you pay more for that also, but it is definitely affected to the amount of storm events. And we did have a lot of storm events over the winter too, which caused some spikes at different times. The rain, when we weren't getting all the snow, which I think we all appreciated, we were getting some rain events, large rain events. So that is what we're seeing here. It's sometimes very hard to predict. We will continue to work very hard to try to minimize our inflow and infiltration and do projects to upgrade that. A lot of Lion projects will be coming out this year to try to do that. We have to, because that's a DP mandate anyways, but there is a direct benefit. It will reduce our costs.
All right, thank you. Any questions from anyone? All right, thank you. We'll take a roll call. Marquetti is yes. Councilor Dow?
Yes.
Councilor Steves?
Yes.
And Citizen Member Lazo?
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0. Agenda item number 7, review, discuss a DPW street lights transfer request from free cash for $17,674.89 and account number 001132-578100. Town Council Reserve for $47,325.11 to account number 001297-521000. Electricity streetlights for a total transfer amount of $65,000 to cover cost of electricity to the end of the year. Entertain a motion to vote to recommend that council approve this transfer.
Motion move.
Second.
Motion made by Dow, seconded by Steves. All right, Heather?
You want to
Mr. Chairman?
speak to, this is streetlights, you want to tell them?
So,
Mr. Tom?
Heather, to you, Mr. Chairman, the DPW Director and Karen Harnois, we've talked back and forth. We're not getting the invoices that we need from National Grid. I know that staff has reached out to them. I sent an email again this afternoon to our contact asking where they are and did not receive any response prior to tonight's meeting. I was trying to get an answer for you this evening.
So as we have come to you before saying that we are trying to get a handle on our streetlight costs and why they are so variable and, working with National Grid, they have given us some indication that they do see a problem in our billing. And I can tell you that last month we actually didn't receive streetlight bills. We still expect that they will be coming, but we think that they put them on hold because they realized that there was an error in their billing system. But we have to be prepared to be able to pay those bills if they become due before the end of the year, because they are this year bills. So reviewing what we project for cost, and I'm projecting because I can't really control a cost that they don't seem to be able to control themselves or give me any feedback on. We are trying to prepare to be able to pay these 2 bills. So we'll have 3 National Grid bills and 2 solar credit bills that would be paid through this money. And I can tell you, hopefully, we will maybe there'll be a settlement and we won't have to use this money, but we still have to be prepared to be able to pay our bills. And all 3 of the departments are pressuring National Grid as much as we can. I think this problem is much bigger than just our accounts, and I think that's what they're realizing, and they're not really sure how they're going to address it, and they have to have it addressed not just for us, but for all their municipal clients that are renting streetlights that like we are. So I think we hopefully will get some feedback, but we're not getting anywhere.
All right. Okay, any councilors have any questions? Councilor Dow.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. The light, we're going to pay for the lights working or the one is not working?
Go count how many.
If you call National Grid, you can report any street light is out.
So it's, technically, that's not the DPW job to check the light.
No.
If none of the town employees, we just pay bills, and we don't know if the light working or not, correct?
I don't have staff that works at night to ride around and check whether the lights work. The only lights that we do check to see if they're working, and sometimes they go on and off because of solar eyes, are the ones on Main Street themselves, the decorative street lights. Those are our responsibility to repair. All the other lights in town are not our responsibility. There are a few lights that I will call, that they have a term, they're red boxed, I think it's the term, where they have been turned off permanently. The light fixture still might be there, but they are not on, and we don't get billed for those. So it depends on the location of the light, whether we get billed for or not. We pay for a rental, and they pay like it's working, so you are correct. We should be always checking to see if it's working. There are no meters on regular street lights. You pay based on a number of kilowatt hours they expect to have usage for that time, like number of hours of darkness. They have a way they calculate that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Steve?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have to say, when I ride around at night, I do see lights out. What I do is I pull over, get the pole number, and I call them, and they do come fix them. It's as easy as that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
And I will say sometimes it does take a couple weeks. And if it is a condition where it's taking a couple weeks, I'm always happy to jot an email to our contact, and he has been really relatively pretty good about fixing those lights. If it's something that I say, this has already been reported and it's been a couple weeks, can you please follow up? He does, and he gets back to me to tell me they're fixed. So he has been good about that. He is good about things he's in his control. The billing is not within his control. It's out of his hands at this point.
Thank you. Councilor Steves?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. 2 quick questions. Heather, I was curious, do we have any ability to confirm or challenge the actual use and costs that we get from them going forward? And once we finally get the final bills, and if we find out that there are issues with their billing systems, how does that work?
So I think your first question, is there a way for us to challenge their bills?
Yeah.
I use our contact when we do have issues on our bills, and we do from time to time see issues. Either we get an estimated bill or other things. So he is my point of contact when I have to challenge something, and usually he's pretty good about explaining or having a reading redone or things of that nature. Like I said here, This is a more of a system-wide, the way they're billing, and streetlights are much different than your home account because you pay a rental rate for the lights, and you pay a rate for transmission, and then we pay a rate for the electricity. I guess if we found a whole bunch of lights that were out for a long period of time, we could challenge, but we have I have the count somewhere, it's in the thousands of lights. So if we find 5, 10 lights, it's really not going to make a big difference in the cost. You still pay the rental because you're renting whether it's working or not.
Right. Okay. And how much have we paid for streetlights so far this year?
I don't have that at my fingertips. I would have to look it up, but I know we were already over budget, which I believe was like 142,000. Do I have, hold on. Oh, I don't. I'm sorry, I didn't bring my budget book with me because I know that it's in there like what the budget amount was, but I can get that for Monday's meeting.
Okay, thanks.
Is that it, Counselor?
Yep.
Thank you. Does anyone else have any questions? No? All right, we'll take a roll call. Counselor Marquetti is yes. Counselor Dow?
Yes.
Counselor Steves?
Yes.
System Member Lazo?
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0. Agenda item number 8, review, discuss DPW water transfer request from account number 610450-583-000-91250, capital reserve, to account number 610450-521000, electricity, for $15,000 to cover the costs of electricity to the end of the year. Entertain a motion to vote to recommend that council approve transfer request.
Motion moved.
Second.
Motion made by Dow, seconded by Lazo. Thank you. Mr. Chairman, or Mr. Town Manager, sorry, keep calling you Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, I would refer to DPW Director Blakely for these.
All right.
So, again, we're seeing the transmission cost. I will say that our overall amount of water that we've produced this year, which of course is again directly related to electricity, has increased. Maybe counterproductively wise, you would think maybe during the pandemic our water usage would have gone down. We haven't seen that. We've actually seen an increase in water usage over this year. So some of this increase in cost is also directly related to increase in pumping cost.
All right, thank you. Any councilors have any question, members? Anyone? No? All right. We'll take a roll call. Councilor Marquetti, yes. Councilor Dow?
Yes.
Councilor Steves?
Yes.
System Member Lazo?
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0. Agenda item number 9, discuss DPW water transfer request from account number 610450-583-000-11585, remote meter reading, to account project 63750, South Street Water Main Design, for $165,000 to cover the cost of construction, administration, and oversight for the South Street transmission main replacement and resurfacing, remote meter reading, I don't know why that's in there. Entertain a motion to vote to recommend that council approve the transfer request.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Lazo, seconded by Dow.
Councilor Marquetti, you are correct. That remote metering can
It's
be removed.
yeah, it's just
Yep.
an extra line there that didn't
Yep.
belong. All right. Did you want to explain this?
Sure. So in the item that's following, you will see that's for our oversight of the South Street project, which the next 3 items are coming up. We did not, in our original contract for the design, there was no oversight included. It wasn't part of the original contract at all, or contract administration. So we have asked the engineer to provide us with a proposal for engineering oversight, and we needed to find a mechanism to fund the cost. The mechanism that was found is in the current fiscal year budget. $165,000 was included to cover our loan payment, basically, to Whitewater for the remote meter reading. This was actually done in error. We didn't need to make any payments on it this year. It was paid off last year. So this $165,000 would end up going back into our certified water retained earnings if we didn't use it. And as you all know, then we'd have to share 10% of it with Charlton. So I'm proposing a use that will go directly to the benefit of the water department without increasing any cost.
All right, thank you. Any councilors have any questions? Councilor Dow?
Yep.
Thank you for the good thinking.
I didn't hear that. Oh,
I say thank you for her good thinking.
yeah, all right, thank you.
I'm trying to use as much of that money as possible.
Councilor Steves?
Yeah, I'm just curious to know, why wasn't there engineering oversight included in the project in the first place?
Because when you're doing an original design, when you're putting a project out to just design, it's really hard to ask the engineer to bid on oversight because they don't even know what the design of the project's going to be. And especially with this one, we had multiple options when we went out to design. Part of their design project was to do a study to look at 4 different options, and each option would have had a different number of hours of oversight needed. So they had to basically get through the design and do a projected schedule to say, yes, we think it's going to take this many months, 9 months, versus another project might have taken 4 months. So it's very hard to include in an engineering scope for them to provide us with oversight when we don't know what the definition of the project's going to be.
Okay, that makes some sense. And to follow up on that then, so does that mean that this is going to go out to bid, or is this going to go to the people who are currently doing the engineering work, or how is this going to work?
So the project has already gone out to bid. It's on this agenda.
It's on the agenda. Yeah.
It's number 11 on the agenda. So this is...
No, I mean the engineering part, the oversight part of it.
No, we did not put the oversight out to bid. We've been happy with Tie and Bond. Their rates that they have included in here are competitive with other rates that we have seen. And I really wouldn't feel comfortable in this project that is a very complex project of bringing in another engineer in this time and having them have to get up to date on a different engineer's project.
Okay, thanks.
All right, thank you. That was my only question. Who is getting the job? And you're saying it's Tie and Bond. All right. Any other questions from anyone? We'll have a roll call. Councilor Marquetti is no. Councilor Dow?
Yes.
Councilor Steves?
Yes.
And Citizen Member Lazo?
Yes.
Motion passes 3-1. Agenda item number 10, discuss review quotes received for DPW uniform service and recommend awarding to UniFirst as quoted rates and weekly amount $64.74 or a yearly cost of $3,366.48. Entertain a motion to recommend to council ratify a customer service agreement with UniFirst from account number 01499-519200.
Motion move.
Councilor Dow, seconded by Councilor Steves. Heather?
So every few years we go out to bid for their DPW unions uniforms. So the uniforms, they're entitled to receive pants if they're working out in the field, and the mechanics receive pants and shirts, and if they're working in the office. So we've put this out to bid. We do this multiple times. We currently have Cintas. We haven't been overly impressed with their customer service. And we previously did have UniFirst, which at the time we were we thought we weren't impressed with their customer service, but it turns out it was much better than what we had from Cintas. So we go out, we solicit quotes from multiple different sources. You can see the 3 that we have contacted here with the number of pants that we typically use and this. So this is a laundry service, so they do wash them so that they don't have to bring them home and wash them. It is a laundering service. It is part of their contract that we are required to provide this to them, so, or contractually required. But we do want to get a good service, quality service for what we're getting also. So we have gone out to bid. We do know of UniFirst. We have used them in the past. And, you know, we will have to we'll use that. It will be a 3-year contract. I believe the one they have there says 5, but they have modified that for me because I did notice it. So it'll be a 3-year contract for a limited time, so.
All right, thank you. Any questions from the council? Councilor Dow?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, to you. Every year, how much percentage will go up, the contract?
It's not going to go up.
It's a flat?
Yep.
So 3 years, same price, is no increase on any,
I believe that's in there because they had to tell us if they were going to increase it.
Yeah, it says that.
So I believe it's flat.
because they, you know, they write sometime in a small written
Yeah, I know.
agreement.
Trust me, we
Somewhere.
have, that's part of the issues we have with Cintas. They're seeming to always hit us with additional fees, and they're very difficult to get those fees off. So that's why we ask the questions regarding fees very detailedly. So,
Because if you see where the price and payment, in the third line, good and service or by 5% additional price increase. I'm not sure. You see with the customer service agreement term, and we'll say with price and payment, if you read it,
or
other
by 5%.
good and service or by 5% additional price increase on other charge might be,
I will make sure that they confirm that they're not doing that. Like I said, I know that there was a question, I had a question about the term of the contract too, so.
just make sure because, you know, they
Yep.
do that usually, you know,
Yep, no, I'll check before Monday.
thank you.
But they're still far cheaper, so they're
I
still
know,
going to
but
be the cheapest.
That's how they start, cheap, and then they put,
Uh,
5%.
Trust me, Cintas is charging us every time that they think that they need to replace somebody's pants, whether we ask them or not, so.
Yeah,
Yep. I'm sure
Thank
they
you.
are.
It's very, this is one of those necessary evils. I haven't found a better way of doing it, because if I did, I would probably do it a different way. But, you know, that's why we don't get shirts for everybody through them, and then we buy the T-shirts, because we found that to be much more productive. We've talked back and forth about maybe changing it, but this is a pretty cheap price when you look at how many people we have that we're providing uniforms to. You know, it's 17 people, so you know, I don't know that for 17 people we could offer them enough pairs of pants to offset the cost at $3,000. So.
yeah, no, I do the same thing, definitely, just you have to be careful because
Yep.
sometimes they put that little small language,
Yep.
you know, increase certain percentage, so they're saying 5, that's a lot, usually 2% usually, but it's
Yep.
something say 5, so, thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Anyone else? Counselor Catrona?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you, did the town manager review this contract?
Not in depth, no, sir. Usually something like that, I've reviewed the things that tend to be a little larger, but I don't always see these. They go out to bid. We've designated a lot of our department heads. When I first came here, we were doing it, but it wasn't done formally, but you're allowed to delegate procurement authority to certain department heads for certain dollar amounts, and I did do that.
And these are requests for quotes. It's not a bid. It's under $10,000. Under 30.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Counselor, anyone else? All right, we'll take a vote. Roll call vote. Counselor Marquetti is yes. Counselor Dow?
Yes.
Counselor Steves?
Yes.
Citizen Member Lazo?
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0. Agenda item number 11, discuss review construction bid results for South Street water main replacement and road construction, and the results for the base bids and the alternate bid results. Entertain a motion to vote to recommend that council ratify the contract with Ludlow Construction in the amount of $3,744,207 with the base bids and bid alternate 1 to include Old South Road reconstruction funded from project 64420-South Street paving at $300,000, project 64879 South Street transmission main replacement at $3 million, and Chapter 90 funds at $444,244. Is that a million? It says million.
No.
It's 1,000, right?
Yep.
207,000. Thank you.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Lazo, seconded by Steves. Heather?
So this is South Street transmission main replacement project. This is to replace the 2 main transmission mains that come down South Street from the filter treatment plant where they enter at the South Street yard at the filter treatment plant, which if you're coming down South Street, it's the bottom of that first hill, and then you kind of come up right to Old South. There's a gate right there. That's where they come in. It's also to replace the main that goes up to Breakneck Road from that area also, and then to repave from the town line to the entrance to Westville. So that is the project scope that we're looking at. We have 2 main transmission mains that service all of the town that come down that section of road. They are transite pipe. Transite pipe is made with asbestos. I will put that out there right now. It is known to get brittle and easily broken and also to get punky. This pipe was put in back in the 50s when they redid the main, the road in that section. That was the time frame that a lot of these projects of this pipe in era had been done, so it is about 75 years old. It does, like I have said before, and I can't say it enough, it is every drop of water that comes into this town goes through those pipes, except for that one stick that goes up to Breakneck Road, because it kind of goes directly north. They're very large pipes. The project is to put in 2 new ductile iron mains, replacing the 2 existing pipes, and leave the 2 existing pipes in the ground and fill them with flowable fill. In addition, the bid alternate is to do Old South Road from Dennison Drive. I'm like drive lane, Dennison Drive to South Street, to regrade that and redo that and repave in that area. There's drainage upgrades included in the project to meet the new MS4 requirements, deep sump catch basins. We've enlarging some of the pipes to make sure that we have enough, we can get the flow through them, and fixing one of the head walls that's badly deteriorated in the area. So there's some other minor improvements that go with this. We're not expanding the size of the road. We're not doing anything crazy and making it bigger. It's a very expensive project. We knew that going into it. This has been budgeted into the water for next year already. We already have the loan agreement in place, so that's what you're seeing. So that's where the $3 million is coming from. The $300,000 was set aside a few years ago for South Street repaving, because we knew we were planning for this project upcoming, so it was set aside previously. And then we're doing the offset difference with Chapter 90 funds.
Thank you. Councilors have any questions? Councilor Lazo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you to Heather. Heather, I'm pretty familiar with the transite pipe, and it's really brittle. Do you know if there's any cracks in that pipe from being so old, or leaks or anything? This is a positive thing to do.
Yeah, at this point, we do not know of any leaks in that pipe. We probably would know very soon. You've probably heard somewhat about resiliency. We're all looking at resiliency of systems, either our stormwater systems with flooding, with, global warming. We look at resiliency in every one of our systems. So when I look at it, at the water system, to me, this transite pipe is our biggest weak point. Because not only is it a known potential something that could fail, because they know it does fail, and it can fail very quickly, and it's brittle, and if one fails, to me, the other one's going to fail. Even if the pipe stayed good, we're talking millions of gallons of water. We can't stop it quick enough to not lose millions of gallons of water. We will lose all the water in the storage tank. If we're lucky, the valve will be shut, and that's all we'll lose. But it would be very difficult to not undermine the pipe, the second pipe, therefore losing that pipe at the same time. I don't ever want to see that scenario happen. That's like my doomsday scenario. So if anything can be done to make sure that those pipes are of a material that's not known to catastrophically fail as quickly with newer pipes, that's what I'm looking to do. There might be some differing opinions whether that pipe is still in good condition or not, but I have to go with it's 75 years old, it is transite, it is known to deteriorate, it's known to be brittle, and known to be able to break very easily. In addition, our water department cannot work on that pipe. So as soon as there was a break, we are calling somebody in to fix it. And it's going to be very, very expensive.
I'm actually surprised it lasted that long, being transite. No, you're going to fill those pipes with flowable fill, so we just leave them there.
Correct.
Where they should belong there. I mean, I know it's probably more expensive to remove them.
So the other price, if you look on the sheet to remove them, is
Yep.
the price to remove them. So we did have that as a bill alternate. I agree, it would be my preference to remove them, but as an additional fund of another $728,000 just to remove those two pipes, I don't have the funding to do that. I'm not against it if council decides that that's the way that they agree to go. All I know is that it is acceptable from DEP to fill them and leave them in place if you don't touch them. Given the fact that we already have sewer in the road and we're doing the drainage improvements, I agree with you. We're kind of passing the buck to the next person that comes down that wants to do something there. But I don't also have, another $750,000 to put to this project. If council decides that they want to, I understand, I do. I definitely think some days it's best to do everything and so nobody else has the sins of the past. Trust me, we're finding that every day on Main Street where people leave their old stuff in the ground and then we're ending up dealing with it and it affects our project. But I also that's the cost. You have a bid price for that right there. So we can make that decision, we can amend this, but we would have to go and find funding for that. Whether it would be borrow another $750,000, we can look at what that effect is. We might have the capacity to do that in the water budget without a problem, but that's the cost.
Yep.
Thank you, Heather. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Councilor Catrona?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you to either Heather or the town manager. I assume the town manager did review this contract?
As presented right here, I can't say that I've gone through it end to end, but what I can tell you, and at least I'm anticipating your question, Councilor Catrona, as I'm requested for assistance, I can tell you on the water operations contract, I spent a lot of hours with DPW, our town council, as requested. When I first got here, I looked into what we have, some standard contracts that we use with our bids. The one that we typically use was prepared by, I want to say, Myrick O'Connell. I did spend some time with that council reviewing it, and that's typically what we've been sharing with a lot of people when bids are done. This, as I recall, was sent out to Ty and Bond to help prepare. I have given input when it's been asked. I do try and review some of them when there's an issue, but to say that I've read this one end to end, I can't tell you that I have.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If I can continue. Looking at Article number 2, where it states the engineer, I did take the time to read through the contract. It says the part of the project that pertains to the work has been designed by Ty and Bond. The owner has retained Ty and Bond, the engineer, to act as the owner's representative, assuming all duties and responsibilities, rights, and authority assigned to engineer in the contract documents in connection with the completion of the work in accordance with the contract document. Maybe, Heather, can you tell me, does this mean that they're taking full responsibility of this project? So if there's any defects, any cost overages, they're going to be responsible for this?
They're going to act as the engineer within their contract. Their contract does not have any clause regarding taking cost overage. You would have to look at the next contract, but that is not a standard condition in that. And I have spoken to engineers regarding whether if we ever put that in place, and they told me we wouldn't be able to afford them.
Thank you. If I can continue? Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll come back to that in just a minute. If I can just move on to Article number 4, 4.3. It says the total amount will be adjusted on a monthly basis when the monthly cost change for each of the following exceeds plus or minus 5% for fuel. It talks about fuel costs, asphalt, monthly price adjustments, provisions of the above materials. Does that mean that they're going to be coming back to council and looking for additional funds?
There's an allowance in the contract for that already.
Okay, so that allowance is going, that was my next question, was going to cover that.
And that's a standard requirement for any Mass DOT spec jobs. You have to have a asphalt price variation. It's a requirement. So we include that in our contracts as standard because obviously we know the price of gasoline and it affects the price of asphalt and everything else as the price of oil goes up and down. So Mass DOT requires you to have that allowance, have that ability to adjust prices based on the price when it was bid and how much it goes up or down. There's a standard form the way you do it, and that's why we include an allowance. It usually is only a couple $1,000s one way or another.
Thank you. Again, if I could, just going back to Article number 2, and help me to understand, so when this says the responsibilities, rights, and authority are assigned to the engineer, the owner is Southbridge, correct? The town manager, preferably, and all duties and responsibilities, right, and authority assigned to the engineer, contract documents in connection with completion of the project work in accordance with the contract document. So they're going to review this project, when this is completed, they're going to have the final say, the final sign-off, or is the town of Southbridge going to have the final sign-off?
Well,
I guess I asked the town manager / attorney that when we brought him on board. I don't know if it's a contract question.
I think you have to see what the rights of the contract, under the contract of the engineer are, which you're not seeing that part of it. There's a whole different standard part of the contract. This is just a summary of the contract. They use the standard EEC forms. The engineering, there's a standard template of a construction contract, and there's duties of the engineer in that. The owner still has the final rights to sign off on everything. We pay the bills, they recommend the bills. They're going to give us engineering judgments on these are the quantities, this is what you should do. If there's a dispute, here's how you handle it. They give us the guidance on that. That's what our engineers all function on. Sort of like a clerk of the works. Everybody talks about a clerk of the works. When they're doing contract administration, that is what they're doing. They're administering the contract for us, giving us advice on what to pay and what the quantities are, because we're not out there measuring quantities on a daily basis. We give input onto technical decisions if there's a technical decision or if something different needs to be done on a contract than what was bid. That's how we function. And when there's something that's different that has to come, that's my job to come to you and explain it.
Yep.
Thank you for the explanation. Heather, through you, Mr. Chairman, prior to the meeting, I believe this will come before us on June 7th. I'd like to hear the town manager after he reviews the contract and get his recommendation to move forward with this. Thank you.
Right. Okay.
All right, thank you. Councilor Steves.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. 2 quick questions. I know that Ludlow was the one that did the Eleanor Lane project. Any comments or responses to what they did now that it's been done for some time, Heather?
Did you say Ludlow was the contractor?
They were the ones that did the Berry Corner Road project.
Correct. So,
Yeah, okay, go ahead.
the Berry Corner Road project, obviously, the water lines were installed, I would say, very fast. They had very good production. That we had to work on them with some of the issues with the methods, but they've already been trained, so I think that's actually working to our advantage. They're very familiar with how we work and the requirements for our project. I would say, there was some issues with their paving, but that also was addressed with the engineers, which were Ty and Bond. So both Ty and Bond and the town of Southbridge are very familiar with Ludlow, and Ludlow's also very familiar with us. I think that actually can work to our advantage here, because we know what to watch for from them, and they know what to expect from us and Ty and Bond.
That's certainly helpful. And do you have any concerns about the fact that their bid is about $2 million below what Ty and Bond estimated the cost to be?
No. I think they were aggressive to try to get the project. I think that the other bidders are within the same range when you look at it. And, I think we expected, we always want our, engineers are always going to provide you with a price with a safety cushion, which we had a 20% contingency on it.
Sure.
So you're seeing some of that right there. So I'm pleased that it's cheaper. I thought that the cost estimate that was provided was a little bit high, but I understand why they do that, because this is a very big project with a lot of big unknowns.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Counselor. Anyone else have any questions? Counselor Daniel.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you to Heather. Where is the contingency built in for the asphalt?
Should be one of the last. 71A.
71A?
If you go to almost the last pieces of the,
Oh, there it is. Okay,
so
I see it.
70, there's 69A, 70A, and 71A.
Okay, I didn't see that. I was just looking at the high numbers for the asphalt.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it's always at the end. That's where, so monthly price adjustment for hot mix asphalt, monthly price adjustment for diesel fuel, and monthly price adjustment for gasoline.
Yep. So you're talking close to $500,000 of asphalt alone in
Oh,
the
yeah.
bid on this
Yeah.
bid. And you're saying another 20 grand is all it's going to need?
Yeah, because the price, it's an index price. So it's how, you look at the index when they bid it and say it's 100, and then you look at the index when they actually put the work in, and it might have gone up to 120, but you're only paying the percentage difference.
Okay.
You're not paying for everything, and it's only a small part of it. So asphalt is, a portion, the amount that you're bidding on is only a portion of that asphalt. And then it's only like 5% of it. So there's a funky little calculation that we do, and it's a standard calculation that we do. So
I got it.
yeah. And it's based on an index.
And then item 68 is the...
Is
I
the
assume that's the
contingency fund.
contingency. Is that enough on that size project?
Probably not, but I also, we have to start somewhere. If I put $500,000 into this project, I will say this: whatever we put in there, the contractor is going to try to spend on me. So you don't want to put $500,000 in there and then have them have to spend $500,000. So we start with 100. We know that we might have some up and downs. All of these quantities aren't exact quantities. They're all estimated quantities with a little bit of a safety factor, so that we can do I need you to pave this over here because it's in bad shape and I want you to extend the limits another 100 feet. Those type of decisions can be made in the field. We need to reconfigure this piping a little bit in this direction. So none of these quantities are like exact to the foot. They are, okay, we need 100 feet of pipe is what I measured, but I'm going to include 110 in the quantities. So when we come to the end of a project, normally we go up and down in some of the quantities, where I'm going to exceed in this one, but this other one I'm going to be over. So when we do a quantities, that final price, we try to come right at the right middle. It's a art, not a science.
Okay. And you said the repaving goes from the Sturbridge line to the pumping station, basically?
The sewer pumping station, yes.
Okay.
And Old South, if we do alternate one.
And Old South. Well, that'll be good. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Anyone else have any questions? I just have one. When are you going to start this?
Can't start soon enough, right? Well, so we'll talk a little bit on timeline. So if it gets approved at council on June 8th? 7th? I keep on saying 8th. I don't know why. It's my brother's birthday. It's a little, I guess, to him. I want to be at a meeting on his birthday instead of talking to him, I guess.
Make sure you have a cake once.
But on June 7th, then that notice of award will go out to them. They have 2 weeks to provide us with signed contract documents and the insurance and the bonds, and then we will sit down and have a pre-construction meeting, and they'll tell us what their schedule is. I would assume that, so we'll probably be starting, if all that goes well, we'll probably be starting in August, mid-August. The goal would be to get all the water line work and all the drainage work in this fall, as long as they can get materials in this fall, and have a winter to let any of the settling, and then come back and reclaim everything in the spring and pave in the spring.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
All right, if no one else, Counselor Steves.
Yeah, one quick question tying that in. So how will that compare to the completion of the Main Street project?
Sorry, what was that, Counselor?
How will that compare to the completion of the Main Street project?
Well, at Main Street, we're still talking about when the optimum time to pave. We've already extended their paving time frame, so we're talking about paving Main Street this fall. Later on tonight, we have a discussion about some different potential techniques and cost associated, a budgetary cost associated with what we do on Main Street, because I've received a lot of feedback from different people regarding different methods. So I do want to have that discussion. But right now, the plan would be to pave Main Street late this fall, October timeframe.
Okay.
So yes, we are going to have the wonderful 2 construction projects going on at the same time.
All right, I'll go to Counselor Daniel first.
Okay, so the South Street project essentially is going to be another Main Street.
Yep.
Okay. That's all I want to know.
South Street, there will be detours every day. So the good news with I don't know if it's really good news. South Street, we will be utilizing going through, as long as it's open and we don't get any major flooding events, going through Westville as a possible detour around the project. But yes.
All right, Citizen Member Lazo.
I don't want to go off track, but you brought up Main Street. I had a question because I was asked this question. Parking spaces in front of the library have been taken away. Is there a reason for that?
Safety.
Because of that turn? Mm-hmm. That's what I thought.
Safety, and we did a road safety audit there back, because actually our Main Street and Hook Street, that whole area, we had a lot of safety issue concerns, and there was a lot of pedestrian concerns. We've had accidents related to pedestrians, so we are putting rapid flashing beacons, those are the pedestrian crossing, at that crosswalk, but the crosswalk length was an issue, so there is bump outs on both sides to shorten that crosswalk length to provide better pedestrian crossing, and also because of the way traffic used to whiz by on the right to turn down Central Street, people coming out of Foster Street used to have a conflict there, so this is going to help that conflict somewhat. I know we're losing a couple parking spaces on Main Street, but the safety that and the better traffic control, when you channelize traffic, you actually get better control, and we had a very wide open, willy-nilly type of situation going on there, so we're hoping for actually a safer Main Street.
Thank you, Heather. That's what I thought. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome. Anyone else? Anybody in the audience want to come up? Nope. I'm going to recognize former Councilor Denise Clemens.
Thank you, Denise Clements, 128 Country Club Place. I was unaware that, I don't know, I guess you're sort of still closed, but I thought you were open because the governor said you were. So I thought I would come down tonight. And I wouldn't actually be speaking at this agenda item. I would probably be waiting a little bit more because I was trying to figure out where to fit this in. There was no new business, and the only thing might have been the paving on Main. But since there's just been a lengthy discussion, if you would allot me a couple of comments. My big concern was Main Street, is Main Street. It's also South Street and many other projects that are going on currently, because I hear lots of things and I have lots of people with lots of discussions, but that's all hearsay. I'm not a professional, but I am a concerned taxpayer, as many of you are, or all of you are, I gather, if you're serving here. So, Ms. Who reviewed this plan on Main Street, since we're talking Main Street? Did anybody, and who, review this plan on Main Street for the design?
Meaning what?
The design, the changing of the spaces, the changing of the sidewalks, the changing of anything. Who reviewed it? Did Economic Development
Point of
review it?
information,
Did the
there's
police-
nothing,
did the
Mr.
police
Chairman,
review it?
we're on number 11, aren't we, at the moment? There's nothing in there about Main Street. There was a question asked, but I don't think that opens the floor.
I can wait till paving, but I figured since you allowed the lengthy.
I'm going to give her some leeway. Unless you
Okay.
want to wait, I'll give her some leeway because she did talk about Main Street. But if you want to wait, then we'll wait.
I would prefer not to, because then I could go, right?
Okay.
But I've
No,
been
go right
waiting, and I'm
ahead.
happy to wait.
No,
It's
I'll
up
let
to you,
you
Mr.
talk.
Chair.
If you want to ask questions, that's fine.
Okay, so my main question is, who reviewed the design plan with the changes that included removing at least 5, if not, I believe, 6 parking spaces?
I think it's more like 4, but
I went over there today, so who reviewed the plan?
I reviewed the plan. Planning was involved. Planning was involved with the road safety audit. Police were involved with the road safety audit. It was a multidiscipline approach. We all recognized the issues with the crosswalk in that area, and were aware of the recommendations to shorten the distance of that, and including doing something regarding the Foster Street intersection. It was all part of the road safety audit, which was done in conjunction with Mass DOT, which Mass DOT led, and, you know, we were all part of that as far as a team here in the building. I didn't bring it to planning because I didn't think it's a planning project. Economic development, as far as the people in economic development and planning at the time, were involved with the project, including the road safety audit. Traffic Commission was aware at different points so that we were looking at road safety issues, including geometry changes which could include limiting parking spaces.
Okay, so I'm not going to, I'm listening to the way you're pointing it out. I actually asked that question too to higher authorities, including local authorities, and was told that they were not aware that you were changing all those spaces. And I asked the question, how dangerous was that crosswalk? And I was told they have not had any major issues with that crosswalk ever. That one in particular, because it changes the entire scope of our community. That crosswalk, those spaces lost at the post office, especially for elderly and people who would just drive up and go in and do their business and come back. Very difficult. Same with our library side of things. When we have a master plan, and part of that master plan is to look at what this community had desired and expected for the future, and that was supposed to include melding all the different groups to make sure things were moving along in the same direction. Taking parking spaces away from businesses, as we did with the Central Street parking lot, and now taking Main Street parking spaces away is just not in the direction of economic development. And I've had a lot of people, and I will say the word a lot, because I used that infrequently back in the day, because when 2 or 3, that's not a lot. But when a lot of people continue to make comment, including people who work in this community, who are taken aback to make comment because of their positions in this community. That bothers me.
So
as
I
a
will provide
taxpayer,
you the
I came-
minutes regarding the road safety audit and who was there, because there was a whole list of us there, including representatives from the police department, including representatives from planning. So I don't know if
Then
they're just
I will
not
put them on the
aware.
spot again.
Correct.
But that's over the weekend, and the only reason I'm here tonight, by the way, is because there was no town council meeting to have these conversations prior to some of the other work that's about to start. Numerous issues. The other thing, when we talk safety, we should talk safety of our employees, and plowing and such now is going to be a nightmare in those areas. And let me just say one more thing about the curbs that coming out of Central. That was nice. She didn't want the people whizzing out and killing people in crosswalks because they don't bother to stop when they cross the street or wait for the light anyway. Sorry, people, you know who you are. I watched it the other day. You've made that corner wider. Did anybody consider tractor-trailer trucks? And what about, the police station potentially down on Worcester Street, more ambulances and more fire department truck apparatus going around the corners? We have cut the corners short on Foster and on Central, and that will be a problem on our large apparatus. We've had that problem before. We'll probably have that problem again. And that comment has been made to me. So I'm bringing these concerns because before it's paved, before things are done, you might want to take a better look at that. That is just an abomination, and it has really ruined that. It's a shame. We don't want to be short-sighted. Okay, we have a beautiful project. Main Street we all wanted Main Street to be paved. It was in terrible shape. The utility companies had made, there's lots of terms you could call it, they had ripped up our road time and time again and never fixed it. And that's a shame. That's something that should come from the state where they make them pay more. But in this case, now there's design changes. And it's a shame councilors didn't even see or know about those design changes before, because, you might have had a little bit of say, hey, geez, do we have any concern or consideration for the community in terms of what we're doing? I'm just saying, these are things to think about, and before it's paved, just bringing it up. I feel that there are a number of missteps there. They've been brought to my attention. As I said, I'm not the engineer. I'm not a roads person. Many people aren't. Sometimes you need a little more oversight on those types of things, and a little more information and direction when it comes to roads. So I have a concern, and I'm bringing it to my council to tell you that I think that taking away parking spaces in our community that has economic issues to begin with was the wrong move, and you might want to check with your safety people about plowing concerns, safety apparatus concerns, and the such.
All right, thank you.
That's part of what I have tonight. Thank you
That's
for
fine.
your time. I appreciate it.
No problem. Councilor Catrona, did you want to add something?
Mr. Chairman, I'll reserve my comments.
All right,
until
thank
later.
you. All right, then if there's no other comments, we're going to take a vote on this. Councilor Marquetti is yes. Councilor Dow?
Yes.
Councilor Steves?
Yes.
System Member Lazo?
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0. Agenda item number 12, review, discuss amendment number 1 from Ty and Bond for the construction phase services, South Street Water Transmission Main and Road Reconstruction Project in the amount of $170,000 to add construction, administration, and construction observation services. Entertain a motion to vote to recommend that council ratify the engineering construction oversight contract with Ty and Bond in the amount of $170,000 funded from project 63750 South Street Water Main Design. Could I have a motion, please?
Motion moved.
Second.
Second.
Councilor Dow, Citizen Member Lazo. Heather or the town manager?
So this, as I said before, the original design did not include any engineering oversight or contract administration. This is the engineering and oversight and contract administration for the South Street project from Ty and Bond. You already recommended that $165,000 be added to the existing account, which the existing account has remaining funds in it to be able to cover the rest of the remaining, the other $5,000 for this contract.
Thank you. Any councilors have any questions? I just have one quick question. Don't you think it would be better to have a clerk of the works? Wouldn't that be cheaper?
Nope.
No, it would not work for something like this?
It wouldn't be cheaper.
It would not?
No.
No.
Is it a requirement?
I would think it would be, but.
Any town or federal?
Councilor Dow, did you have a question? Go ahead. Yeah.
Is it a requirement, town project or government project, or you have to have a?
Clerk of the Works are only required for building projects. They're not required for road projects. A clerk of the works is a whole team of people. It's not just one person in general. No, they usually have people that work underneath them to help review and do things because it's a huge project. It's not, they're not usually always just one person. This provides a number of hours of oversight. It provides technical support for reviewing pay applications, reviewing bid specs, submittals, and things of that nature. Yes, we could try to find a clerk of the works, but usually clerk of the works are full-time. So sometimes, most clerk of the works are full-time. So this is basically doing a clerk of the works job through a engineering firm. I know of different clerk of the works, but they're usually specialized to building projects, not doing water main projects, not doing that. You usually rest on, if you're hiring an individual person, that's a different thing. A lot of the clerk of the works work for firms too, just like Ty and Bond.
It is part-time.
It is part-time oversight.
Some of them they have part-time, some of them full-time.
This is part-time.
I'm saying if different person review the project from the one who designed it, it's more.
There's pluses and benefits for looking at it each side. I agree. It can go either way. On this one, with how critical this infrastructure is, I want somebody who's owning this project and who's worked on this project and who's going to have some responsibility for this project to go well. I don't want someone else coming in and pointing fingers and saying that was the engineer's fault.
Right.
But that's his job, to find some mistakes or something that wasn't designed correctly, or to forget something to be done correctly, not hiding it under the scene or add it as a extra work to get paid for their mistakes.
The engineers are not getting paid for extra work in general. The engineers are finding problems and addressing problems either way. It's not, and we don't, there's engineering oversight on this project. The water department also will provide oversight on this project so that they know that they're getting what they want in the ground and they know what's going in the ground. So there's two different eyes that are going to be out there, the engineers and the water department. And when needed, mine or Matt's. And unfortunately, and one thing that I do know is water very well, because I've done engineering oversight on many water projects. So they don't get a lot over on me when it comes to a water project. I can be out there for 15 minutes and I can tell if they're doing things right or wrong. It's because I was around it, that's what I did in my previous life before I worked here. Lots of water line oversight with lots of difficult contractors. So, sometimes I know when they're BSing me and I know when they're telling me the truth.
Thank you.
You all set? So there'll be no change orders from?
I can never agree that there's going to be no change orders. I'll never, ever say that.
All right. Does anyone else have anything, Councilor Catrona?
I do, really quickly, through you, Mr. Chairman, and it goes back to the previous tie and bond contract. And Heather, this is no objection to anything that you just stated. I was here in years past, I was sat as a counselor under Florence Chandler and under Hammer Clark. And I can recall Florence back then having Hammer would review these projects himself when these projects came up. We didn't hire someone. We didn't spend this kind of money. And that's what I'm referring to when I asked, and I'm going to speak more at council on the 7th, by asking the town manager to review the contract. Because I think that there's, at some point, we need to own the project ourselves. As engineers in the department, we need to review it ourselves. We need to, and as a town, we need to own it instead of continually spending money to having somebody else review our projects. Now, I know that they take responsibility. I'm aware of that fully. But I'm under the impression and the belief, going back years past, when I sat here as a counselor under Florence, and she would have Hammer review these very same projects. I'm not going to ask you what's changed. That's not up to me, or I won't ask the town manager. But to me, it's throwing money away, and I can't justify it.
I will say on simpler projects, and this is not a simple project.
I get it.
And I also know that I was around when Hamer was around, and although that might have been true on some of the projects, Weston and Sampson was the engineer for this town on everything. And they, including oversight. And on whether it was water, sewer, building the road up to the landfill, they were the people, and they were the only people. And there were no competitive bidding, and there was none of that. So I know that they were involved in this town heavily. I can see the contracts to see it. So I don't know when that changed, but Hamer was here then on many of those projects, including construction of the water treatment plant and major construction down at the sewer plant, which didn't go very well.
Thank you. I'm all set, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you. Anyone else have any questions? Councilor Daniel.
Under task 5, it says that Ty and Bond will prepare weekly reports. All right, and that will go in, and that will be in addition to the reports that you're getting from the water department?
Right.
Okay, so you'll be taking all the information together, as it were.
Right,
Right.
so they'll document everything that's happening out there and what was installed and, any issues that were found and how they were addressed.
Okay, and forgive me because I
Nope.
haven't got a clue. Is it, under that same task, it says there's 600 hours of construction observation? That's about 15 weeks. Is that literally 40 hours a week for 15 weeks?
No. I don't know how they figured that out, but so it's 450 hours during the water main construction and another 100 hours during the roadway with final paving cleanup. They broke it down for their staff. And they say that they'll be supplementing the observation being provided by the town. So they'll be out here part-time is basically what they'll be doing.
Okay, and they're bound to us. They abide by us, right? Ty and Bond.
Correct. They're
Right.
working for us directly, not for the contractor, not for anything. And I will say this. You wanted to know what happened in Berry Corner Road. So previously, we've worked with the same team and the same people. I had an issue with Ty and Bond and the person that was observing out on the Berry Corner Road. And I went directly to my project manager on that project and I said I wanted somebody different, that I was having issues, that I didn't think he was working in the best interest of the town, of us and Charlton. And they listened to me. And they got me somebody different who was excellent and worked for us and made sure that, and granted, it's Charlton, but he was making sure that the right payments were there and providing the right oversight. So I do feel that we have a good enough relationship with them from a contract basis that if we're not happy with the oversight they're providing, we're going to get somebody that we are happy with. And that's already happened. Their contract administration for Berry Corner Road was spot on. I mean, spot on. And that was a difficult project because it wasn't just us handling the money and dealing with issues. It was us and Charlton. And so every time that we would get in a room on a monthly basis, because we had monthly meetings for that project, there was 20 people in the room. It was pre-COVID. And, it was managing not just my expectation, but Charlton's expectations, which weren't always on the same page, and they had to manage us also, and the contractor. So I give them a lot of credit that was not an easy thing for them to do. This one will be much easier. All they have to manage is me and Matt. And, we don't have that third party coming in to provide that additional conflict. But it's a very critical project and a very high-profile project because of what I've said. We have to make sure the safety of those two water mains on that during this construction is key and is very, very crucial. So having somebody there, whether it's the water department or Ty and Bond, to make sure that there is no missteps is very, very crucial.
Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Anyone else? All right, hearing none, we'll take a roll call. Counselor Marquetti is no. Counselor Dow?
Yes.
Counselor Steves?
Yes.
Councilmember Lazo?
Yes.
Motion passes 3-1. Agenda item number 13, discuss, review construction bid results for pavement preservation. Entertain a motion to vote to recommend that council ratify the contract with Indus for not to exceed $500,000 funded from project 64843, roadway paving construction and reconstruction. Could I have a motion, please?
Motion moved.
Second.
Motion made by Dow, seconded by Lazo. Okay, Heather.
This is our pavement preservation, part one of our paving plan for this year. You guys have authorized up to $1,500,000. We said $500,000 for the pavement preservation. If you look at the bid quantities, they actually are a little higher than that, but we want to give them a not to exceed $500,000 contract, and we'll work off the quantities to work up to that amount of project. The quantities were estimated quantities anyways, because it's very hard to know exactly how many gallons of crack sealing you're going to put down, so they're an estimated quantity, so we will work within the provisions of the contract and get as many roads as possible done for the crack sealing list and the fog sealing and the micro surfacing. We only did have one bid. Indus is a known leader in the industry. They used to be, oh goodness, I can't remember their old name. I guess they've done a good job remarketing. We actually have used them before under their
Coating.
Seal Coating. Thank you, Seal Coating Inc. Yes, so we've used them in the past to do crack sealing in the town, and they've always been very professional. We really have never had any problems with them. They're very good with their quantities. They provide us with the information of where they've gone and what they're doing, and work really well. We don't need any oversight on this project. Something we own and we do, we can manage them right directly with the staff.
Good. Good.
All right, thank you. Any councilors have any questions? Lazo?
I just want to say through you to Heather. Heather, this is the company that's been doing it right along.
Yes.
They do a fabulous job. I watched them do it.
Yeah, they definitely have their method
Yeah,
down,
they
precise.
heat it up right on the road, and they do a
Yep.
great job. Thank you. Just want to say that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome. Anyone else? Councilor Steves, any questions? The only thing, I got a couple things. First of all, what about paving?
Paving is being put out to bid.
So that'll be the third part of this,
Second part,
second part of it.
yes.
And then the third part of it will be,
There's no third,
no.
just two.
Okay, well, I mean, there's crack sealing, fog sealing is number 2, microsurfacing is number 3.
That's all, this is this contract. Crack sealing,
Right.
surfacing, fog sealing, that's pavement
Okay.
preservation
Sorry, yeah.
package.
Right.
The paving is putting out separate, that will be our mill and overlay selections.
Okay. I do have something that I have brought up before at the end of Litchfield Avenue. There are residents that live down there, and it's totally a total dirt road. And I have brought it up before. I don't know what can be done about it, but I would appreciate if somebody would
I believe it's private,
take a look at it.
it's private.
That's private road at the end of Litchfield?
Turns into Durfee. It's a
Huh.
private section of Durfee. But I can look at it again.
Okay. Well, if somebody's paying property taxes,
They can petition for the $500 fee
yeah,
and come through traffic, just like everybody,
much.
any other private
Okay.
road.
all right.
They need to do a private road petition, and we can do $500 worth of work. It doesn't go very far.
No.
I agree with you, but that's
Right.
the only provision we have for doing any work.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. All right. No one else has anything? I'm sorry, Mr. Town Manager?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. No, I half expected Council Catrona to ask, but I was involved with this contract and review of this contract, so I just wanted to make him aware that we do get a vast majority of them. He caught me on one this evening I hadn't read end to end, so.
I think you read my mind, so.
All right, if there's no other questions, take a roll call. Counselor Marquetti is yes. Counselor Dow?
Yes.
Counselor Steves?
Yes.
Citizen Member Lazo?
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0. Agenda item number 14, discuss water contract operations request for proposals, results, status, and next steps going forward. I didn't receive anything in here for this.
No, it's just an update to provide to you guys. There's nothing formal. I just wanted to kind of give a general update so everybody knew where we were.
All right.
We, the water operations contract went out to bid. We received bids on last Monday, a week ago yesterday. We only received one bid from Whitewater. That bid is, the technical proposal is under review by myself, the town manager, and Matt Desjardins. I know from my preliminary review that it does meet the technical requirements of what we put in the specification, so I don't see anything wrong there. We have opened the price proposal, and it is within the range of what we expected. I've already provided the town manager with funding, how to offset the funding differences between what was in the original, in our next year's budget and what was proposed. So I do think that at this time we will probably be very quickly moving forward with negotiations of that contract. There was a draft contract provided in the agreement. I know in their technical proposal they had some markups for discussion purposes that they wanted to discuss, which is what we asked them to do. So I do see that proceeding nicely and hoping that we will be able to come back to council at the last meeting to hopefully propose that contract and get that in place. So the good news is it's moving forward. Everything looks like it's pretty well. I will say I should actually give a little kudos because you don't, I know this isn't great public knowledge, and shame on me for not tooting their horn more, or our horn. We were awarded, the Southbridge Water Department was awarded again, I don't know how many, Steve will yell at me for not knowing, but was awarded again the water, there's a name for it, the Water Quality Award for, in the state of Massachusetts, for having good quality water, providing, doing all the paperwork that we need for all the reporting, not having any incidents within even the last 5 years. So, you know, our water department, they have shown and demonstrated by the number of times that we have been able to win this award that they are doing everything to keep our water in full compliance and meeting all the reporting requirements and not having any issues in our water system, and operating the system so that we do provide very good quality water without any issues and meeting all the requirements of the Mass DEP. So that's the requirements for being awarded this. So they were awarded this just again this year, that just came out, and the award presentation was just today via virtual Zoom. They usually have a nice meal and dinner for all of us, but no, that didn't happen this year. Again, good old COVID. So there will be a proclamation coming from the state to the town of Southbridge and the Southbridge Water Department. I believe that either Senator Fatman or somebody is supposed to deliver it to us very soon, probably coming to you, so.
All right.
Look for that to come. So it's
Thank
very good news again, you know.
All right, thank you. Any questions, discussion? Councilor Dow?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, to you. Why we don't take back the operation of the water?
Why don't we take back the operations of the water? So previous to me becoming director, I know that they have looked at taking that back. To the cost would actually increase because of the long-term cost when you have to look at doing retirements and all the duplicity you need for operators and things of that nature. It becomes very, very expensive when they would also get folded into the union, and that means the prices would go up additionally for that. We would actually pay more.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Steves, you have anything?
No.
No. I only have one question. It's just for this, since it's just discussion anyway. Do you think we could save any money if in the contract we said they buy their own vehicles? Because I know we purchase vehicles, we purchase the insurance, We purchase the
Too late
gas.
now.
We
We have
do
to
the
go
re- We do the repair. Do you think there would be any savings there if that was in the contract or not? I'm just, I would like regard.
Obviously, there would be a difference in the cost. They would pass those costs on to us anyways, so I don't know that there would be really any savings. We do benefit from the use of those vehicles because they are town vehicles, because we do use them for plowing, and, we literally use them for plowing. So we wouldn't have that option if they weren't our vehicles.
All right. Mr.
With that
Alonso?
said, through you, Mr. Chairman, the people from Whitewater drive our vehicles, are they covered
Yes.
under our insurance and liability and all that?
Yep.
They're listed?
I mean, they are covered, and they have their own coverage additionally.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you. All right, if there's no other questions on this one, we'll move to agenda item number 15, discuss Main Street paving alternatives and associated estimated costs for each alternative. Heather?
Okay, so both my department and I know the town manager have received some feedback from some people that are concerned regarding Main Street, not just the current condition, but also what the final paving technique is going to be. So I just want to, I'm going to bring you up to date of what what the original paving was in the bid, and a couple potential options that we can discuss. Now, they haven't been discussed with the contractor in any great detail, so we don't have actual prices of what would change, but based on Mass DOT prices or prices that are in the contract that would be similar to what we are going to do, that's what these prices are. So I'm not going to hand this out because I don't want this to be, this is kind of a working document. So the original contract required the main trench line to be permanent patched, which means that the trench that's there now are still going to be taken out, cut back, compacted gravel, 18-inch cut back, and then 4 inches of asphalt put down. And then it requires that the road be milled and overlaid for 2 inches. In a select area on the hill, it was supposed to be 4 inches. So it was a 2-inch mill and overlay through the whole project with on the hill, because there was some concern about the thickness of the pavement, because we did do cores there originally that showed that pavement in areas was up to 8 inches, which is part of the reason it was shoving, which is what was that sliding and that effect.
Well, the heavy trucks roll it.
And the heavy trucks.
When the weather's hot, they roll it.
Yeah. But it was very thick in that area. To mill it out and put 2 inches back, decreasing the thickness. That is what we have in the bid right now. Quantities could go up and down, trench width and things of that nature. We'll have to adjust quantities at the final project. We had to take out large quantities of concrete that was underneath the road base. That didn't really expect, we expected some of it because we knew some of it was there, but we didn't expect it in all of the job. What is weird about the concrete that is under the road base is it's already previously been disconnected, or the way, we don't really have any design plans of why it was put in this way, so I can't even surmise. I don't have the drawings, the original drawings for when they redid Main Street and put the concrete in. I wish I did, because it would answer some of my questions, but I don't have them. The middle of Main Street, going right up the yellow line, there is no concrete. There is reinforced concrete in parts of Main Street, and there is non-reinforced concretes in other parts of Main Street. So it's very hodgepodge. We obviously are taking out the concrete and putting in gravel road base and then putting pavement on top of it. There are some people that say you need to put back at least asphalt, or some people say you should be putting concrete back. Putting concrete back would be extremely expensive. I think we all can know the cost of what concrete can be. It's much more expensive than for the same volume of asphalt. Secondly, we could put asphalt back to that depth. That might have some problems in itself, because as we get thicker asphalt, the asphalt acts differently than even the concrete. There is also the train of thought of you're not milling deep enough. We need to mill more off. The asphalt thickness varies on Main Street. In some locations, like I said, it's very thick. In other locations, it's 4 to 6 inches. Let me just finish my different options. There's another option that says you should be full depth reconstructing all of Main Street. Take out all that concrete, put virgin material, put good gravel in, and, you know, put 5 inches of asphalt back. I'm going to tell you that that's the Cadillac, and I would love to propose to do that, but I don't believe we can afford it. That estimate for full depth reconstruction comes in based on bid prices at 2.2, based on Mass DOT weighted averages, 1.5. It's 2 million to 1.2 million more than what the contract would be. So what else could we do? I mentioned already, we could do additional milling, mill deeper, do a 4-inch mill and overlay on the whole project. We probably would have to adjust in different locations for where it might be shallow. Maybe it would be shallow, you know, okay, this 100 feet, we got to make it only 2 inches because the pavement's only 4 inches thick. That comes in at a total cost, oh shoot, I want to make sure I have the right ones. No, it does. I don't think his number's changed. Say $700,000, $400,000 over what we currently have. Current cost, just so you have a range, is based on current bid prices and values, not on actual quantities we're going to use because I don't know what that is about $325,000. So you're almost doubling it if you just, well, you're doubling the milling, you're doubling your asphalt, you're doubling the cost. The thinking there is you're providing more structural stability because it's thicker asphalt that you're putting back, your new asphalt that you're putting back. It doesn't address anything with the existing concrete that's there. We're not removing any concrete or anything of that nature. So there are options that we could look at. It would be a change order. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It's a change order from day one if we're going to change how thick we're milling it. It's definitely a change order for going to full depth. Cadillac would be to redo full depth. I get it. If I had an unlimited amount of money, then you're going to give me an unlimited amount of money, we'd do that. I'm not telling you that that's not the best project. That is the best project. It is our Main Street. I get it.
So you're, I'm sorry, I'll go to Mr. Lazo first.
Thank you, Mr.
Are you
Chairman.
done? I'm sorry.
I am done.
Okay.
I just wanted to put the options that, I mean, and there's a bazillion other options, but those are kind of the 3 main options, I think, to talk about.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, to Heather. Heather, my concern is the hill. The rest of Main Street is fine with me the way you want to do it. The hill is the problem. Charlton did concrete on their Route 20 hill 15 years ago. It's still there. It doesn't roll. They had a rolling problem with heavy trucks coming down when 70,000-pound trucks come down, put their brakes on. It's hot, it rolls the asphalt. Everybody knows that. Main Street from Notre Dame down to the bottom where Goddard Street is, you can put as much asphalt as you want there. It's not going to help. It's the base that counts. It's underneath that counts. You can mill it down to 2 inches and then put 4 inches on top, but it's not going to stop it from rolling because the base underneath is not correct, the way I look at it. If you were to take all the asphalt out on the hill and remove the base and put a better base underneath it, I think it would be a better road.
So the good news is we kind of put the water main down that side, so your base is going to be good compacted gravel in basically that whole trench line, because
Yeah,
you
it's-
know
it's
where the
only
trench is.
It's basically the downside.
Yep, and that's where the water line went, is the downside. So that doesn't have the concrete any longer. So now you're just going to have your good asphalt base, which we are going to test and make sure it's meeting spec, which is a big component that we have to do to make sure that it's compacted correctly. It's all about compaction testing and making sure they have it compacted correctly, and then put the asphalt on top. That is where we were supposed to get all new asphalt there anyways, because they were supposed to do the heavier mill there, the 4-inch. And
Okay.
the asphalt is supposed to be, I'm not an asphalt design engineer, and lots of people will tell you the asphalt now is not as good as it used to be, and I understand why, because of the products that we put in it. But the asphalt is designed for heavy truck use. It's not your standard asphalt.
Okay, thank you for that answer. And I have one more question. They're going to start the paving at Pine Street. How far down Main Street are they going to stop?
Everett.
Everett Street, that's it?
Yes.
But the trenches go beyond Everett Street,
To the end of the trench.
to the end of the trenches?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Which is a little bit further than we originally
Right.
expected in the project. This is one of those things
Right.
that changed, but they couldn't stop at Everett Street because of where they had to tie in, and the fact that our Main Street is literally a mess, and the duct bank is right over the water line that they had to connect to, so.
Maybe they could go a little further. There's a manhole there that's sinking down pretty good, and take care of that problem. So, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Heather. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Councilor Dow?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I agree with Mr. Lazo. When a truck load and going down the hill, push the brake, it's gonna vibrate and it's gonna push all this. So if you wanna redo Main Street in 10 years, 15 years, I think we just put pavement there. But if you wanna do it correct, I think you should look more like Charlton, what they did on Route 20.
Charlton and Route 20 has no utilities underneath it whatsoever at all. Unfortunately, ours will have a brand-new water main, which is good because it's brand new, but we're not the only utility that's under there. There's Verizon ducts under there, there's a whole bunch of other things under there, so there is no way that our concrete would stay untouched for 15 years. And I know, because I worked on Charlton Waterline, we had to literally, to make some of the connections, they literally had to jet underneath that. We could not cut it. They would not let us.
So what's the warranty on the road after the pavement?
There is no warranty. I mean, it's a year. You know, if it starts shoving in a year, they're going to have to come back and get it. But it is going to be one of those things that is going to be a maintenance item. I do agree. It is designed for heavy truck traffic load. Route 20 coming down that hill is a 50-mile-an-hour road. Ours is not, so it shouldn't be going that fast. It should not see the number of trucks that are coming down Route 20, and it doesn't. I know we hit a lot, totally agree. It's not anything near what the loading is on Route 20.
I mean, the money we're spending on Main Street, I think we should, you know, at least look for, I don't know if the regular pavement for the road is different from the airport. Maybe we use the same pavement we use for the airport, for the airplane.
Yeah, well, it's different grade pavement. You are right. It's not the airport grade, but it is a higher grade pavement. It's designed for those heavier loads.
Because technically the pavement might not move them, but the pack under the pavement is gonna, you know, by the vibration move.
I'm hoping that actually by having gravel under there, you're not going to get the sliding that you might be getting with the concrete under there right now. If we are putting concrete, totally concrete with no asphalt over it, it might be a totally different thing, but I don't have a cost for that. That would be extremely expensive. It would be a totally different design than what they're doing there right now.
I know, but sometimes things expensive.
I agree. I understand.
You know, we do something, you know, a little bit cheaper, and then we have to pay again to do it down the road.
I will tell you this right now. Doing a 2-inch mill and overlay is only expected to get you 10 years. When you mill and overlay, you're only getting 10 years on the life of a road. You might get more, but it's not designed to give you 20 years. Full depth reconstruction is only designed to give you 20 years. That's the problem. For how many years have we not invested at all in these roads? If you look at life expectancy and what we should be investing, you know, you only get 20 years out of a road before it's going to start to fail.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Councilor Dow, Catrona?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you, and you won't hear me say this very often, but this is one change order that I would certainly say yes to. What does Lynch, Lynch owns their own company. Lynch
Yeah.
owns, and we know that in Millbury. Yeah, their own asphalt company. What is their recommendation? Or have they provided us one as of
They
yet?
haven't provided us with a recommendation. What they did say to me, even just today, and we can go have more conversations with them. We're going to have more conversations soon anyways. Is their feeling is if we do the full depth patch and we actually beef up the patch depth. So that was one thing we talked about with, you have concrete and then you have pavement in different, that if we do put something in there that's more like asphalt, that's denser in there with the gravel underneath, more like 6 inches, because we're only putting 4 now, thicker, and then milled off maybe 3 inches or 4 inches, they feel that that road is going to stay in place without a problem. They point to different roads that they've done major drainage work out on Route 9 in Westboro, that they did the same thing, that they cut through concrete and that was all patching and there was all these concerns, but this is what the method that they used, and that it's been successful and that you can't even tell that they put in the drainage work now and it's been years. So I think their recommendation is to stay with the way it is spec'd, maybe provide additional asphalt for the permanent patch so that it's a thicker permanent patch and mill out more of it, because their concern right now with the permanent patch thickness of only being 4 inches, and it's my concern, is that we're not going to get down into that concrete zone. And we need to get into that concrete zone so that there's more stability like the concrete that we're leaving in place. Some places our concrete's really thick, so maybe we don't do the whole thickness, but maybe we do half of the thickness, or we come up with a method that we're going to use. But they're not going to tell me no if I go back to them and tell them I want the whole road reconstructed. Well, they may tell us that we're crazy and have to rebid it because it's over the 15%. We're going to get into, we're going to get into whole contract issues once we do that. If we do that, we may have to go out to bid again. Literally, we may have to say, okay, we're going to stop this and go out to bid again because it's a way bigger change order than it can be covered in the contract.
Right.
Increasing the quantities of asphalt and the depth of the milling, considering we already have those in the contract, we can do those smaller tweaks to our design and maybe get a higher quality final product without going to the Cadillac condition.
If I can continue, Mr.
Sure,
Chairman,
go
thank you
ahead.
through you. It's my opinion, I think we can sell, I think if you were to come back to this council with knowing what we've already done to Main Street, it'd be my opinion, and hopefully the council would buy into that change order. We've put so much into this Main Street already. I think it's a worthwhile investment into the future of that road. If I can just expand a little bit on something, Mr. Chairman, since we have an opinion that new business is off our agenda, but I want to speak to the speaker that spoke about Main Street earlier. And just to bring up a couple quick notes. As to the parking spaces on Main Street, I think it's been reviewed. It is what it is. I know if a local contractor in this town has a concern that the parking spaces, especially by the library, have been removed, he should be here himself. As far as anything else goes, Heather, you and I had conversation, and I did tell the business owners that I would bring it up. I will tonight, and I will again on Monday. Lynch needs to communicate better. We know that. You and I had that conversation. Shutting the water off to businesses today was damaging to those businesses, especially after COVID, and I did tell the business owners again that I would bring this up. These business owners already lost a lot under COVID, and they lost a lot more today being shut down, the restaurant and other businesses in the Elm. There was very poor communication there from Lynch or the water department to any of these businesses. They didn't know until the day before, and many were going out, myself too, and asking the contractor, what's going on, why you're shutting down, as I was getting calls. And I know of one other councilor that received many calls as I did. So as we go forward with this project, if you can request them to communicate better with the businesses in this town and I did express our conversation to them that the cost would be more if we had done this project at night. And some said they don't care. Well, it's our tax dollars. I do care. So, and I would have said, and I told you this on the phone, I would have said no to that, to paving this at night or to increasing any of the costs, but just better communication. There was an issue today, they didn't get water back, and I don't know if you knew this until later tonight. There was an issue there, and we can take that up later, but...
I thought they got water back around 3 o'clock, but I could be wrong because I wasn't informed that they had an issue when they tried to reactivate
There was an issue, some things were forgotten. And they didn't get water back until I was coming here to this meeting tonight. So it was a much larger issue and many more hours than anticipated.
Well,
so,
and I actually have some very bad news in that regard.
Please share. Please share.
I was called out there about noontime. They were able to do one of the connections that they were working on. They weren't able to do the second one, which is the one on Elm Street. The project will require, like we're trying to work with Lynch and the water department, it's going to require at least one more shutdown. We will work with the timing of that shutdown so that maybe it can be in the afternoon so that places can stay open in the morning or with the schedules. But it will at least require one more shutdown to the same basically zone of the area. We need to connect on Main Street and we need to connect Elm Street. When they opened up Elm Street, there were old gas mains that weren't marked out because, as I said, as I referred to kind of jokingly, the gas company left their mains in place and they don't have any history of those mains, and you uncovered this monstrosity right where we were supposed to be putting the water main in today. So they were not able to do the second phase. Now they have it all open and they know what they need to do, but they need to schedule another shutdown. In talking with the contractor on site, he said, well, if I can schedule 2 crews, I can do both shutdowns, both connections at the same time, basically only having the same number of shutdowns originally they were going to have. You know, it was either that or make them work all night, and they weren't ready to do that, and they weren't in any shape to do that, and that would have caused issues potentially longer term if they couldn't get it done. So we had to regroup, and so it's now regrouping stage. We're actually talking about potentially bringing temporary water service into Elm Center. If that can happen, that could actually relieve some of the issues potentially. Not everybody can work on temporary water, but some people can. So
some can. Thank you for that information. I think that's very, if they can just communicate with the business owners. You know yourself, there was poor communication up until a day before. And these businesses lost thousands of dollars, not just the cafe, but the businesses that are in the Elm Center. There's a hairdresser in there. There's an electrology business. There's state buildings that are run out of it. They couldn't use restrooms.
Right.
And they didn't have those back until almost 6 o'clock tonight. The Elm building did not get water back. And I stopped on my way and I was talking to the water department that was on the corner. He never mentioned that. But something was...
they're not trained. They would never tell you.
And I respect that. But,
that's my job, not theirs.
But point is, now there's another shutdown that's going to happen, and I think it's imperative that communication is
We'll be working with
better.
Lynch on when it would be best to shut down. We will be talking to the building owner, which we've already initiated those conversations. The conversation was initiated with the building owner a week prior. So we will be talking to them again. And, you know, it's not just that building. The subway building was also shut down.
I understand that.
And multiple of the banks were shut down.
Mm-hmm.
They can still function without water, so I don't know what they chose to do, but, you know, we can't run temporary water to everyone. It's not practical. We have the ability here because we can run it from the hydrant that will still be active right in front of the town hall over to that building. We don't have close hydrants to all the buildings, unfortunately, so.
But I asked the Lynch and I don't know what the cost is to even do this work later in the day.
Well,
but
and that's...
The cost, I don't know what that might be, but for business owners in this community who pay their taxes, who are already lost a lot due to COVID from being shut down, let's just be patient and be respectful with them. That's all I ask. Thank you. Thank you, Mr.
Counselor.
Chairman.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Daniel?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. When does that change order need to be finalized by?
We need to, so I need to know the direction of council of what they would be looking at doing. If you want to direct us to do what I call the Cadillac option of everything, I need to know that because I need to consult with the town manager and figure out whether we have to actually go out for additional bids because of the value change. So I would ask that maybe we have a discussion at council on Monday night, similar to this one. I can propose, because I need direction. I know one counselor is for reconstructing the whole road. I don't know if everybody else is willing to pay another $2 million plus for this road. Or is it better to look at being only another $500,000 for the road? You know, that's kind of the scope. You need to give me a scope area. We can work within that scope, but I need some direction because I'm not making this call.
All right.
Is that fair enough?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, that is.
All right, how long is this road projected to last after it's done, according to the specs you currently have?
10 years.
And you're talking 15 to 20 if you have the Cadillac?
You'd get over 20 years.
All right.
But within 20 years, somebody's cutting into this road and disturbing it anyways.
Well, yeah.
So then it's not as competent, you know.
Is there any work being done to the traffic lights, or is that later in the project?
The traffic light work should start next week.
And are we getting new poles, new fixtures?
We're getting
or
new
just-
fixtures. The poles are staying the same. They're using the same poles and mounting new fixtures on it, and they're new technology.
All right.
It's camera sensing technology.
Thank you.
Thank you. Counselor Steves, did you have anything?
No.
No, okay. I don't have any problem if you want to bring this to the town council. I think all the councilors here would agree if this should be brought to the full council. So if you want to bring it up, put it on the agenda for the next meeting, that's fine with me. I don't have a problem with it.
In the same similar manner of just a discussion so that we just get a general sense, is that
Okay,
fine?
that's fine. Yep.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Councilor Dow?
Oh, Counselor Dow? Yeah.
Mr. Chair, discussed in the price, maybe that will make us go forward with a decision, because it's not about just spend $2 million, about the quality and the time, because if we save now $2 million, and 5 years later we're going to spend another $5 million, I think we should spend the $2 million now and have it for 20 years. But I understand, you know, the utility underground and all that, but it's still maybe different quality or different material, I don't know. Thank you.
Okay.
I'll try to do something in a general because I can't give you, it's not a bid price. It would be an estimate, engineering estimate with a description of each different option. How's that?
Perfect.
All right,
Thank you.
that sounds good, thank you. Thank you. You all set, Counselor?
Yes, thank you.
All right. So then we'll move on to agenda item number 16, and this is the one we added tonight. Review, discuss DPW transfer request from account number 001495-529000, Specialized Services, Snow and Ice, for $10,000 to account number 001499-533100, Maintenance of Trees, to cover the cost of removing trees in Oak Ridge Cemetery. Entertain a motion to vote to recommend that council approve this request.
Second.
Counselor Lazo, and seconded by Dow. Okay, Heather?
Thank you, Councilor Marquetti, for adding this at the last minute. I received, actually came through the operations manager, that a tree had fallen into a woman's backyard, and she was saying that it was a town tree. We looked at the GIS and said, yes, the town property does abut up against the back of Rogers Street, if you guys know where that is. That's actually the backside of the Oak Ridge Cemetery. It's all wooded in there. It's not where we bury anybody. It's kind of like on the other side of the river, but we do own it. It's wooded. It's a problem. I visited the site early morning, and did agree that it was a town tree. and it did definitely do some damage to her backyard. And luckily, I will say, it fell on kind of a diagonal instead of a straight line, because if it fell on a straight line, it would have fallen on part of somebody's house. It was a large oak tree that fell. There's multiple trees in the back area of that property. And ironically, I said to her, I said, this tree actually had leaves on it. She's like, yes, this was one of the healthy trees. When you look at that whole line of trees in back of those houses, multiple, and I say multiple because I didn't count them because I was scared of the dollar signs that were cha-chinging in my head, are dead. No leaves. They look like, you know, the scary forest that you read about in the storybooks. They were completely dead, no vegetation, bark falling off. You're going to say, what happened? Some of them were probably beech trees and ash trees, which have a bore. In addition, the oaks and the ashes all got very damaged by the gypsy moths that we had a couple years ago, and these trees didn't live. The problem being now, and the reason why I want this money now so that I can go and get as many trees as I can removed for this $10,000, which access is a major problem, which doesn't help with the cost of getting these trees cut down. We can leave them there because it's our property, but we got to get them cut down safely that they won't fall on anybody. Is now that we know about them, I can't not do anything, because if I don't do something and you guys can't do so, we become very liable for that.
Okay.
As soon as you know a tree is dangerous
Yep.
or dead, you got to get it down.
All right.
And I you know, we have this money in the snow and ice that would be going into our, you know, would be certified in next year, but we do have this immediate need. So I hope that because we have this big immediate need, I will go get quotes and I will get them in there whatever means I need to get them in there. We do have a small little access way that I will try to get them back through that way. They may have to just hike in there and climb some of these trees and get them to go the right way, but
All right.
they're definitely, I have pictures, but
All right, thank you. I think it's good. Mr. Lazo?
Through you to Heather, this $10,000, are we going out to bid for this, or does the
we'll get
town do it?
multiple quotes.
What's that?
Quotes.
Both, because, you know,
Quotes, yeah. If it's under 10,000, we don't need a formalized contract, we just go out for quote. We say.
for quotes, okay. Because there are some local companies out there that have cranes to do, they'll go right over the houses and get the trees. I've seen it.
Okay.
So,
I've seen it too. They took them down on my house, but I don't know if they can reach over the houses. They're 100 feet back plus.
okay.
But you know what? We're going to have the professional tree guys come in
Right,
and tell
that's
us
what
how to
I'm-
do
that's
it
what I'm-
anyway.
that's what I'm
So
trying to
we're
get
not
at,
touching
yeah.
these trees. There's not any of them that I think our guys would feel comfortable going in there. I mean, I'll have our guys go in there, but there's, like I said, this tree fell kind of diagonally, not directly from the back of her property. And we could see the damage to the tree that was in back of her house that's only like 10 feet off of her house. So if it had fallen directly, I can say we would have damaged her house.
All right, thank you.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Heather.
You're welcome. Anyone else? No? Counselor Steves?
No.
All right. So we'll have a roll call on this. Counselor Marquetti is yes. Counselor Dow?
Yes.
Counselor Steves?
Yes.
Mr. Lazo?
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0. So as you can all see, there's no new business tonight. Town manager sent us a memo saying that we have to be careful with new business. I personally would like to see us discuss this at the council meeting going forward, because I'm a little confused about Councilors Forum. So if we could get that on the agenda for the next council meeting, I would appreciate it. Go ahead, Mr. Town Manager.
I could provide you a couple of the PowerPoints that have been used at recent MMA conferences. Due to some changes in the open meeting law, they wanted things that would be open-ended, to be taken off agendas. Now, councilors' forums, a lot of times, when I was an elected official many years ago, those are more general announcements. I think what they're seeking to avoid is an unanticipated, unlike this evening, which was an emergency. We had this conversation earlier. Was this something that should be held over, or because it was unanticipated, we needed to get these down as quickly as possible,
Yep.
should we bring this forward? But if people want to bring up something that they've known, it's just, they want to discourage that because there might be people that would want to come in and comment, much like Ms. Clemens came in this evening, and you don't want to prejudice anybody from being able to contribute to conversation, so that's why they wanted an agenda, but I will get you some of those
All right, thank you,
presentations.
because for years, we've always had counselors forum. It's in our charter, so.
No, I do think counselor's forum is acceptable, but at least my understanding is you come in and say, I want to let people know there's something happening, a parade or an event or things like that, and that's where you talk about it. If it's something substantial or significant, then you have to ask. If you want to get into a really protracted discussion about a particular issue, I think you, under counselor's forum, again, some of this is my interpretation, you would say, Mr. Chairman, I have an issue with X, Y, Z, I would like to see that come up, and then you put it on an agenda, but I'll get you some materials.
All right, thank you. So I'll accept the motion to adjourn.
Motion move.
Second. I was waiting for you.
All right, thank you, seconded by Lazo. We'll take a roll call. Counselor Marquetti, yes. Counselor Dow?
Yes.
Counselor Steves?
Yes.
Mr. Lazo?
Yes.
All right, thank you. This meeting is adjourned.
Good night.